Okay, here's how to advertise 2 different websites on Google Ads at the same time without violating Google's rules. Yes, there actually is a way to do it, and therefore, theoretically or hypothetically, could actually double the amount of clicks and sales you could get from Google Ads for yourself as a whole. Note that I didn't say company, which I'll get to in a minute. So, respectively, there is a general system here that you are going to go through if you actually do want to advertise and have more than, in summary, on the top of Google, there's 4 ads there. You want to have more than 1 ad there. This could go as far as 3 or all 4 ads actually at once. How to do it step by step. Respectively, I'll also explain how to do it to get your account banned. So for what most people are going to consider, taking a step backwards here, most people don't even know they can't do this until they do it themselves, try to advertise 2 sites, and then end up with 1 account that's banned, potentially 2 accounts that's banned, or 2 accounts that's banned, and then eventually they get 1 unbanned, get a slap on the wrist from Google, and then continue on their way. I'll tell you how to avoid all the trouble basically and still end up getting what you want, which if you want it, of course, is to advertise and take up more than 1 ad of the available ad space on Google for your keywords in your market. Okay? So with all that said, we'll get into it. Whereas most people where most people know by now that you really are not supposed to advertise 2 websites on Google Ads. Like I said, some people don't know, and then they end up, doing something stupid, which is to advertise 2 sites at the same time, and then have to go through all this process to prove to Google that they did it on accident, they didn't know, whatever, you were ignorant. It's against the terms of service of these. Of this platform and an anti-competitive business practice to advertise more than one ad going for your company at the same time. So Google doesn't want you to do it. Just so that's clear right up front. And of course, why? Because realistically, shouldn't be. It's an anti-competitive business practice. You wouldn't want your competitor running 4 ads at once for their same company and not leave you an opportunity. The competition in the market brings better end product and services to the market. Therefore, anything that cumbers people's entry and access to the market to foster a environment of competition with one another in that market of those who deliver the products or services of that market should be taken out. No monopolies, but there is also anti-competitive business practices other than just monopolies that go into things that you're not supposed to do as a business, which you can Google and are actually illegal, and you can get fined from the government if you actually do it. But so Google kind of has to do this, even if they wanted to let you run more than 1 ad in certain situations where they would make them more money. Technically, that's not a legal practice if you dig into the law far enough. Anyway, that's not relevant too much to what we're doing here. You can actually, though, advertise 2 sites for the same exact keywords at the same exact time. As a side note, you can have 15 accounts if you want going at the same time that you own and that your company itself owns, or just you as a sole proprietor own, as long as they're advertising different things. Some people have display advertising going through 1 account and then search ads going through another. Other people will have 2 different, Google Ads accounts. Maybe they work with an agency that set them up an ad account and they acquired that. And then they started a new one with another company that did the same thing or whatever. But as long as you're not advertising to where the keywords overlap, and it doesn't have to be the same exact keywords, you could have swimming pool builders. You could build, for instance, if you build swimming pools, you're a swimming pool construction company, put pools in people's backyards, whatever. Swimming pool builder, swimming pool contractor. those keywords can actually overlap if you're running them both in broad match, since broad match keywords aren't taking what you have as a keyword as the only thing that your ad can show up for, which even if you're running on an exact match, it still really doesn't anymore. That's changed in the recent past, in the last couple of years. But what's really the anti-competitive, what is anti-competitive by nature is to have two ads that are owned by the same company or ran by the same company showing up at the same exact time for the same exact search result, okay? So if you have close keywords in broad match or even phrase match, technically that could be violating what Google doesn't want you to do, which is they just simply say that you cannot have two accounts advertising for the same keywords if you're the same company or entity. So you can have more than one account, you just can't have the same target the same search results, or i.e. keywords that would therefore go into targeting the same search results with two different accounts all by yourself, because that in itself is an anti-competitive business practice. So that all said, what most people don't know is you can actually do this, which is what I just described, advertise and have two ads show up for one search result to get customers in your market. If you're the swimming pool builder, you can actually have, when somebody searches for swimming pool builder on Google in your market, have the second and third search result, or even the second, third, and fourth result, and still have it comply with Google's policies. You just have to go through the right process, go through the right process to make it happen. And here is the process. Okay? It's actually a very simple process. Number one, start or buy another entity and or with that, create a site with that additional entity if you needed to have it. So, respectively, you could start another company. Let's say you have an LLC that runs your current company. Start another LLC and start another website that does what you do in your space. You would need that to advertise have a second ad anyway, right? Most people that try to have two ads show up for one search result to multiply their returns from Google ads would try to send it to a second site, right? Technically, if it's a second site that your company owns, you can't do that. So what you need to do is you set up a separate company, LLC corporation would be one of your choices. And then within that, you start another site that does the same thing in your space. Respectively, you're going to want to, in detail there, have a site that doesn't look like your site. Don't go the cheap route and just take the same template of your site and change the color scheme and have that be your second site, that your second entity that you actually control, that you're going to be advertising here soon. Why? Because going back to the anti-competitive business practice thing from before, customers are going to be, or people in that market searching are going to be pissed off. Think about it from your perspective. You're looking for a swimming pool builder. You're clicking these ads. You saw a good site, and then you're like, I just want to look around, make sure I know what the other options are. You go to click on the next result. It's the same exact site with a different color scheme. Obviously, that's the same company. It's an illusion of choice. I want real choice. Think about what the consumer would want. That's what you need to be doing to make money with PPC ads, regardless of what we're talking about. So make a whole new site. If you make a new site and you do it just to get double the clicks, and because you're wondering if this will work or maybe it won't work, and you basically half-ass that second site, forget about it as well. Spend just as much time on that second site as you are with your current site, because it will not be worth it for you to compete against yourself having a site that's crappy to begin with. So where you can win, hypothetically, is if you have two sites that are so much better than everybody else, you can come out ahead a little bit. But even then, it's debatable. I've made videos before where people ask me all the time, should I run a second account? And I say no, because whatever you learn that's going to be able to crush all the other ads, which you're always, when you're doing Google ads, you're always going after trying to get people that from the search to in becoming a lead or becoming a customer at a more efficient rate than anybody else you're advertising against in the same ad territory, because Google wants to send all the traffic there, and they reduce what you're paying per click, therefore your ROI goes up. So if you know what works the best, and then you try to do that on 2 sites, you're competing against yourself, and you're spreading the returns mostly on what you would have got with that first site against 2 sites, really, okay? So most of the time, running 2 sites, if you have the same strategy, would just be spreading out the return between 2 sites, okay? There are some situations, as I mentioned, I've got a video that's you can watch just after this channel, where specifically if you had 2 ads, there's basically some part of the audience of, like, let's say, you're going back to the swimming pool builder example. There's some people that want to have the Mac Daddy option where they're spending 150 grand on a pool, and there's some people that want a 50 grand pool. You could have one ad that says pool starting at 50,000. And you could have another ad that says best in Denver pool builder, rated by Pool Builder Magazine, #1 pool builder in US and in Denver, or whatever. You get my point. So you're differentiating, and you're basically separating out the people. There's certain people that want cheap, and you'll have to define, maybe it's not just cheap and expensive in your market. There's a lot of markets, there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different buying personas. And one ad that's really, really targeted can't be targeting everybody well when there's multiple buying personas and reasons for people buying. And so you could have, technically, if you add 4 of the ad spaces there, you could hit each buying persona and actually multiply what you can make, instead of just spreading out the return that you would have got just blowing all the rest of the ads away across now multiple ads or multiple accounts, if you get my drift here. So anyway, you got to have a reason for doing it. Don't half-ass it. But if you are going to do it, and you decide, watch my other video, or just in general have decided you want to do it right. Have it under a second entity, and don't make it look like your current site, because people will get pissed off at you for doing that. It'll build ill sentiment against you, and that can hurt your conversion rates or your lead closing rates or whatever. But so you create the second entity and the second site. Your second option is to buy or acquire another company in your space and use their site and their processes. So you're the pool builder, you're trying to grow your sales. You've gotten pretty much what you think. I mean, if you haven't optimized everything with your ads using the Strategies of Mine channel yet, which most people haven't, so I'm going to assume you haven't, you do all that stuff first, because it's easier to make more money just improving your PPC than it is to buy another company. Once you can't do any more, that's the time when potentially having a second ad can actually multiply and take you to the next level. You look at a struggling company that has no Google ads, maybe has a half-decent site. You acquire that company, and then you run ads for that company. Now you own 2 of the ad spaces, which again, maybe that company does something good that you don't do as good. So then now the other company complements you very well. You get a company that can't afford your product, you send them to your other company, and vice versa, or what have you. You get my point. Now, and then you'll run ads that direct people based upon what's on your ad to basically what buying persona they match up with. So you could buy another company which will have a separate legal name. Even though you own that legal name, it's fine. You could have an umbrella company that owns, you could have an LLC that owns the LLC that has your current company in it, and then you could buy that company, which is another LLC, which that LLC and your current company that you have now are both controlled by another LLC. And as long as your current company is controlled by a different LLC than the other company, even if it's basically held by a holding company, which is in another LLC, and they're both controlled by this holding company, it's okay as far as Google is concerned, because they are still separate legal entities at the company level, if you will. But anyway, that's what you have to do. You can either acquire the company or create a new one, whatever you want to do. 2, start to advertise the second site that's under the second entity, whether it's an acquired company or you started another one, as I mentioned, wait for it to get disapproved / suspended. No, I know what you're saying. Corey, you're advising me to get my account banned and ruin my reputation with Google? Yes, I am, and I'll explain why. 3, contact Google support. Explain to them there are 2 separate entities that, first, because they'll detect. Google's way smarter than you think. People think I'm going to run 2 accounts and I'll get twice as many clicks from Google ads. Google pays attention to different banking, your identity, your cards you're paying with, your IP addresses. They can identify, MAC addresses. I'm not going to advise you all the steps to beat their system because Google will come after me for doing that. But they're smarter than you think. There's a legitimate way of doing this right. Why try to beat Google's system? Just do it the right way. And then at least when you have, because ultimately here's what it comes down to anyway. You're going to spend all this time to dial in that second account, and then it gets banned after like 2 years, right when the starting to get good. And then you waste all that time. Why are you going to start something that can potentially increase your business under such shitty foundation? So if you do it right, you don't have to worry about that, and it'll pay off for sure, given you follow my kind of logic I gave you here. And yes, it took a little time up front, but you're not going to have to waste time in the back end. But when you do that, basically, Google will detect that you're advertising. You want them, basically, you're not trying to hide anything. You're just going to do what I say. They're going to realize that it's the same company advertising both sites for the same keywords, and then they're going to disapprove usually the new one, not the old one. Because usually if somebody's going to do that, that's just, I guess, how it goes. I don't know necessarily why. Sometimes they'll suspend both of them, but even if they do, it's still okay. Why? Because you could contact Google support. Google has a phone number. Just don't worry, do chat or email. Just call them. You have to enter your 10-digit ID number, or 9-digit ID number, sorry, when you call. You'll get routed to somebody. You'll have to get routed to the approvals department, the legal reviews department. You'll have to because the first person you talk to won't be the person you have to talk to. You'll eventually get to who you need to talk to. You'll probably have to submit a ticket. They'll get back to you in a few days. You might have to follow up with them by phone again. But essentially, once you get to the right person there at Google through the phone, their support number, you will explain to them that you have 2 separate legal entities that that both of these accounts are tied to. So, what it'll help you prove that if you don't also take the shortcut of you're going to set up, let's say you're just going to set up a new LLC, have a new site to have that second ad running on Google Ads. When you do that, make sure you get a corporate bank account. Don't pay for each ad account with the same card as from the one LLC, because I'm not going to believe that you have 2 different LLCs that run these different accounts. This is what you actually got to prove to them to make sure it's all right. Because if you do, you win, and now you're permanently going to be okay on the situation. You're just going through the process now of proving it to them. So the new account is paid from a bank account and a debit card from the second LLC's bank account, and it has all the business details on that second account is from the second LLC. It could be you, that's on the debit card itself, but on the debit card itself, it'll be tied to an actual separate bank account at the second bank. So it's 2 different payment sources. Because legitimately, if you think about it, 2 legitimate different companies aren't going to use the same bank account. Never is that ever going to happen. So Google's not, again, going back to that, Google's not stupid. You've got to eventually realize at the end of the day, with this system or in general, whatever you do, you're going to have to convince a real human being that you have legitimately 2 different companies that are running these 2 accounts. And if you do something stupid, like reuse one bank account, no matter what you say, it's going to be like trying to explain to a police officer why you were speeding and how it was justified and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, they've heard it all, and they're not stupid. So Anyway, that would be also what you do. They're going to pick up that it's the same name, on the same keywords, because they have a system to detect this stuff in real time. That's how the second account gets disapproved a few days after you start advertising the second account. You'll talk to that person. You'll say, hey, I can email you if you need it. Sometimes you will do this. Here's the articles of incorporation and business details of both of these accounts. And the company's hooked up to them. I own both companies. These companies are total, if you want to really seal, to where you really get across to the reviewer quickly. These are at 2 different offices, at 2 different locations, 2 different business accounts, 2 different LLCs. These are 2 different businesses, legitimately, not just half-assed, trying to seem like that, but literally 2 different businesses. You also have, ideally, you have a separation. You're not using the same employees for both, and that you could keep going with this. But that's the main stuff. And they'll say, okay, you're all right. We'll get you reapproved, and then that's it. You're good. You can run that second ad for that second company that you acquired or started up from then on with no other problems. Once you get green lighted, you'll be good, like I said, from then on. Technically, you could take this a step further, and you could do a 3rd ad and a 4th ad with other companies that you ran. This gets into waters that I don't want to recommend to you. 2 ads is one thing. If you start to have problems once you start doing this a 3rd and a 4th time, I don't want to guarantee that this is going to work. For 2 different companies, no problems. 3 or 4 companies, it should work, but no guarantees on my part. Okay, I'm not saying not condoning doing it. I'm just saying you may have troubles. Worst case scenario, you do a 3rd ad and they turn you down. But the 2 ads that you have already, once you've been already through the support department, that will be fine because you've already got green lighted for those. So you could technically try it. But going back to what I said before, what's the point? There's got to be a point. If you don't advertise and differentiate the companies, you're spreading the profit out between them. Is there 3 different legitimate main type of buyers that you could say 3 different types of things on your ads so that you would get maximum penetration in the market because you've got a dedicated funnel for each of the 3 main types of buyers? If so, try the 3 ads. I would do it if that were me and I was the swimming pool builder, because this is not like a scam. It's legitimately Google's policy. If you follow through the steps right, you're doing it. That said, and with that, I'll just tell you up front, somebody that I know has had a 3rd ad, never got disapproved. To me, it seems a little bit like, there's got to be, I've never seen it where it got disapproved, but there's got to be a way or time where because we're all, people are human, the reviewers are human, they start to see you're trying to take up all 4 ads with 4 different companies. I don't know that they'll always approve that. Okay, is mainly what I'm saying here. But I'll leave it with that. You get my point. Now, why do you have to get your account disapproved to be able to get both of the ads running full time for your company from then on? Because, well, you're not going to, unless you're really good, like I said, you're not going to be able to hide from them that you own both of these accounts indirectly somehow. So you just hurry up and get flagged, then get through it, and then you're done. So it's out of the way. But there's no way to get pre-approval for doing this before you actually do it. It's kind of like the IRS. If you ask the IRS or try to, can I do this, this, and this, they're never going to tell you that it's good. Or like, for like the FBI, you could say, I'm trying to do all this stuff. Is it legal? It doesn't work that way. You got to try it. You got to see you got to have cojones, see how much cojones you have to try it and see if they will, basically leave you alone or not leave you alone. Mainly so people, otherwise it would be, if they knew your policies, they would push the envelope more and it would reflect badly on them, right? I can see why they do that. Lots of companies won't tell you why you got banned if you know through online services, because people would exploit that. Get it? So there's no way to get pre-approval on it. So for whatever reason that they're doing it, you can't. I mean, technically you can call them and ask them, what I'm saying here is true. Go ahead. But as far as I got this site, this account, can you green light me before I get disapproved on the second account I have? There's no way to do it. Maybe you have some super pull, you know somebody at Google high up, you can get that done. I don't know. That's beyond the point of this video. But that's why the process is the way that it is. Just because you got disapproved doesn't mean you're doing something wrong or illegal. It's an automated system that sees, should you be doing the second account? The automated system doesn't know how to evaluate is it two separate legal entities. The system is the way that it is for a reason. They know if to suspend the second account, most people that are doing wrong will just say, oh gosh, and then they'll just stop doing it. But the legitimate people that are doing it right, they'll call in, they already have a human, they know that they can talk to these people and get it sorted out. That's the system at hand here. So, and they know there's no automated system technically. Well, I guess you could say they could build an automated system, but this is so little people need to do this that they don't have an automated system. You're opening an account. Is this account going to advertise for the same keywords as another account? Yes or no? Okay, please insert your articles of incorporation here. I mean, that would be legitimately what they might have to do. They don't do that. They probably don't want to give people that idea to begin with, but realistically, but second of all, it's not common anyway. So they just let the automated system, because most of the people that have a second account, 90+% of them are doing it to beat the system, to do it the wrong way, to do it the way that's the anti-competitive way, where you're just trying to saturate the ad space and blanket it so that you get more people to click on your ads when really they want multiple options and you have no differentiation in what you're offering. So therefore, it's just, you're basically trying to blanket the market. When generally, like I said, it technically is still blanketing the market if you own two businesses, you bought a business, they're both running ads just to help you get more customers from Google Ads, but that's the line between legitimate and illegitimate in terms of running more than one account for the same keywords. So anyway, that's pretty much it. You can go ahead and do that and let me know how it goes. If you have any questions about it, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment or a question on this channel, usually within a day or two time. If you like this video, I have a ton of other videos about other PPC actual money-making strategies and so forth you can use to make more money with PPC, using my 15 years of experience doing PPC. And the agency we run here, I talk about the techniques I use for our clients to kind of guarantee the results. So you could check those other videos out. I've got hundreds of other videos with hundreds of other subjects covered about Google Ads mostly, but Facebook ads and other PPC online advertising. I also have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I build them here, and to also guarantee our clients results at our PPC management firm that we specialize just in PPC. If you want to see things along those lines, you can find good information there, by the way. And so with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully this puts this into perspective so you know how to do things the right way. You don't screw up your account. And with that said, we'll leave it with that. And I'll see you on my next video that comes out in another day or two, hopefully, with another great strategy on it. See you later.